My name is Margaret Pizzala-Granlund. I'm the director of the Art Gallery here at the College of New Jersey, and I am so happy to welcome you all to this webinar. It will be a conversation between Anita Allyn and Kenneth Kaplowitz, and all of this is happening because the Art Gallery is currently hosting an expansive retrospective, a 50-year retrospective of the work of Kenneth Kaplowitz. We're fortunate to have this exhibition in the gallery. I hope you have a chance to come see it. The gallery is open to the public. We just ask that people wear masks indoors. Our gallery hours, as you see on the screen, are Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays between 12 and 7, and on Sundays between 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock. I'm also happy to open the gallery by appointment. So if you can't make it during those hours, please contact the gallery and we can see if we can figure out another time for you to come in. Tonight, we will be having an artist talk. We are thinking that it will take the form of a conversation between Professor Anita Allyn in the Department of Art and Art History, who has been a colleague of Kenneth's for years now and knows his work well. And we're happy to have our featured artist with us as well, retiring faculty member Kenneth Kaplowitz. If you have questions, we will be taking questions in either the chat or the Q&A. It's probably easiest to put them in the chat. Ken and Anita will have a conversation, look at some of Ken's work, talk about the ideas behind it, where it comes from, and we will take questions from the audience at the end. So I'll be watching the questions, monitoring the questions, and we will bring those to Ken and Anita after the presentation. So please do, if you have any questions, just drop them in the chat and we will definitely get to them. And then finally, this webinar will be recorded. So I would say in a week or so, it will be available on the Art Gallery's YouTube channel. So if you have friends who missed it or you'd like to share it with friends or family or colleagues, just look for that in a week or two. And now I think I can turn this over to Anita and Ken. Thank you all for joining us.
Thanks, Margaret. And I'm excited to be here and to talk with Ken about his work and the huge selection of work and the scope of Ken's work. But first, I wanted to just give some basic introductions for those of you who've known Ken for a long time, and even those of you who are just being introduced to his work now. I think having a little bit of context about his background is really important. And one of the things that I had the pleasure of doing was writing for the catalog and thinking a lot about Ken's work. And one of the quotes that I kept coming back to was how Ken, this is quoted from Ken, is that I trust the creative process. And more than anything, I think about that as a guiding principle in Ken's work. So I just want to share with you some facts. Ken Kaplowitz was born in 1941 in Newark, New Jersey. Draftsman, photographer, and teacher. He currently lives in Pennington, New Jersey, and since 1978, he's shown his work nationally and internationally in over 30 solo exhibitions that include Johnson & Johnson's World Headquarters, AT&T, Merrill Lynch, New Jersey State Museum, Princeton University, the Hunterton Art Museum, and Montclair University, among many others. He's also been a part of 70 group exhibitions at various galleries, art centers, and museums. His work is in numerous public, private, and corporate collections and has been published in the New York Times, the Trenton Times, the Newark Star Ledger, and the New Jersey State Museum, to name a few. Notably, Ken has self-published 25 monographs of his work, which is his new passion, and is in the process of completing 6 books of poetry that span 27 years. Ken is a recently retired professor, and he taught communications, history and theory, television and film production, drawing, and photography during his 41-year career from 1970 to 2022. He received a bachelor's degree in art education from Montclair State University in 1963, a master's degree in communications from New York University in 1968, and a master's of fine arts in sculpture from Rutgers in 1970. And it's with that quick introduction that I give the floor to Ken to talk about his work and show us some examples.
Well, thank you very much. Anita and I go back many years, and I'm so pleased that she's here and speaking with me. Um, First, I'd like to read a poem. I do write poetry, and this is, I think, a good introduction to what we're trying to do here today, or my philosophy in what we're doing, and it's called The Conversation. My art and I are in constant conversation, talking and listening to each other like we were two close friends, trying to decide what should be changed and what to leave as is. After the work is finished and hanging on the wall in the gallery or flattened in a book, the conversation shifts. Now my art is talking to you, while I have nothing more to say. So what I'm going to show you are a few sequences of the work that I've been doing over the past 10 years. And I would like you to imagine that the artwork is talking to you. And your job is to listen and see what it's telling you. So we're turning the page here. Let me give you this one. Thank you. And this is the first group. If you're wondering what it is, I can tell you very quickly. It's rust. I've been looking for rust for 6 years. And last year I found a nice collection and put them in a book that's called Rust. In that book, there are 50 pictures, and I'm just showing you a few here. Now, the size ranges from 2 inches to 5 inches. They are all on the smaller side. So I'm using a camera that has a close-up lens. And interesting. And the exposures are done with a very small lens opening, so I can use the greatest possible depth of field. If this is speaking to you, remember what it's saying, and you may want to talk about that later. And at this point, maybe Anita can ask questions about the work.
Well, one thing I wanted to just contribute is an observation about how closely you observe. And it seems to me that what's important to you in your practice is looking at things that easily are missed and spending time in looking at details. Can you talk a little bit about either how you get to that state, if you're already always in that state of looking at details, and what inspires you?
Well, the title of the exhibition is "My Camera is Always With Me," which means just that. My camera is always with me. This is on my belt. And so every time I get dressed in the morning, the camera goes with me wherever I'm going, whether to the college or to a museum or just to pick up my daughter for the day. Um, it's there. And whenever I have the opportunity, I use it. So sometimes to collect enough to do an exhibition, it could take up to um, 2, 3 years. In this case, the rust took 6 years to accomplish for a book that has 50 photographs. I can do it because I have different ideas in my mind, but the camera is always available. I don't have to go home to pick it up. It's on my hip.
But Ken, I would offer to say that lots of people have their cameras, but you have a very specific way of paying attention to things. And I think it's true with color, and I think it's true with shape, but it's also you're a little not confrontational, but you're a little rambunctious. You're using things that people kind of don't pay attention to at all and consider kind of negative
Yeah,
in a way that's really beautiful.
it's true. This rust is the side of dumpsters. That's where I found them, found these images. They're on dumpsters that have been worn by time and usage. And once I discovered that, and that's really only this year, because before that I was looking for rust, but they were not as available and not as interesting as these are. But once I realized it was dumpsters that I needed to discover, I search for dumpsters every day. I drove I drove to the back of diners and stores and wherever there was a dumpster, I'm jumping out of the car to look at the dumpster, front, sides, back. If I could find a good picture from a dumpster, I was happy. If no dumpster was available that had an interesting rust part on it, it was not my dumpster. I would go on and look at others. So I know where the good dumpsters are at this point.
I'm sure you do.
I do. I do. This one is in the back of a Chinese restaurant in Pennington. Um, this one, where is this one? I forgot.
Do these have titles, Ken? Are they
No, there's no title. No,
no title? Okay.
no title. So that's it. So let's go on. Okay. Next section. Okay. This is the next section. Trying to move this across. Okay. Anybody guess what we're looking at? All right, I'll tell you. Yeah, they are. What's that? Oh, you're helping me out. Okay. They're bird droppings. Bird droppings. Here's the first one. And here's the second. There's another. So my modus operandi is somewhat similar to the dumpsters. When I discovered bird droppings, um, I made it my business to keep looking for more. So I would go to parking lots during the day when people would park their cars, and I would look at the hoods of the car and the back end of the car, sometimes on the glass, um, the front glass of the car. And if I thought it was an interesting photograph, I would capture it. This was on a black car, a blue car, another black car, black, and then another blue car. So it didn't matter what the color of the car is, but what was interesting, what was important to me were the shapes. There's no way to know what the bird's going to drop next. Can't be predicted. And I also have 50 of these, and they're all different. Now that doesn't make any sense to me because when we do our droppings, they don't look very different from one another. At least mine don't. But birds apparently have creative means that we don't possess. I did this with a close-up lens, small lens opening. And I noticed that this year there are fewer droppings than there were in the past. So I assume that the birds have found another place to drop their gifts.
And Ken, these don't have any digital processing, right? You're not doing anything to alter the image.
Not very much. Now, when you photograph anything, either something, even a portrait, there's going to be some sharpening, there's going to be some control of contrast. So there's minimum control here, which usually happens in every subject, whatever it is. But it's not, I didn't change the content, if that's what you mean.
Mhm.
Let me read this part. I wrote about it. Bird droppings, unusual series, I grant you, but also it represents a common bodily function that we share with birds and other animals, which should keep us humble. And in comparison with our own droppings, bird droppings seem much more interesting. Are there questions about this? I can't tell you which bird or species or who the bird was or whether it was a male or female bird, but I'm so glad for the opportunity to collect this.
Well, and I think the imagery is fascinating because it's hard to know because the background is pretty innocuous. It's hard to know if we're looking at something in space or if we're looking at something that's flat. And I think the way that you see color, it almost looks biomorphic. It almost looks sometimes scientific or cellular. It's quite amazing. Yeah, it's quite amazing how then you give us the punchline, which you're really good at doing, Ken. That it's bird droppings. I think that's really interesting.
I can't understand how this was accomplished. I know, I just don't understand it. I mean, this is what the bird ate, right? And then it came out. And then it has to leave the bird's body and travel to the surface of a car in this case. And the velocity that it falls and the material that it's made out of and the surface it lands on creates the final result. So I'm guilty. All right, I have another sequence coming up here. And it is, I think we're right there. I think we're out of sync here. Can I have that other sheet back? No, it's not there. Oh, here it is. I have it. Here's my cursor. Okay. Okay, I guess cars are very useful for background. In this case, it's a car that you're looking at, and the reflection of the tree and the sky are um, what I was focusing on, and that's reflected on this hood of this blue car. That is actually the tree that created the shadow here. And this sequence is about reflections on cars, windows, and hoods. This is a back window of a car. This is probably the side window, and reflection is a building, and it's the building that you see at the top right-hand corner here. And this one is of a wooded parking area. It's a very nice blue color. And the last one here is me looking into the side of a car, in case you wanted to know what I look like in the side of a car. But this whole series I call Reflections. Let me mention what I've written about it. Reflections are for sure, but also a reminder of two realities: an unconscious and a conscious reality, waking and dreaming, where the mind changes on a daily basis. And both seem equally real. My dreams are so real these days that it takes me weeks to to separate the reality from my dreams. And I'm sure everyone has that experience. But I'm fascinated by the reflections that are on cars. People often stop me and say, "What are you photographing?" It's my car, and I say, "Yes, thank you very much. It's the reflection on your car." I show it to them, and they say, "I've never seen that before." But there's a lot of it. There's a lot of it. If you're looking for it, look for a nice sunny day in a dark car, and you'll find it.
I think it's also interesting when seeing the exhibition. Unfortunately, we can't see all images that you have in the show, but this idea of the double or mirroring or having a reflective surface is really throughout your body of work. I can think of a couple different series that play with that idea, both analog and digital work that you've done. So it seems like that's really important to your ideas.
Well, that's why you need an objective observer. I'm simply the subjective photographer. I can't tell you um, things about my work in the very beginning. When I start a process of photographing the subject, I'm drawn to the subject, but I can't exactly tell you why or how it happens. It just seems to be normal for me to do that. Analyzing it usually comes much later. So what you're saying rings true, but it's not something I would have said to myself about the work. Well, thank you. All right, let's keep going here. I know I can do this with my fingers. Oh, that's not the finger. Here we go. Yes, 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 yes. I don't think artists really know why they do exactly what they do, but they need to do it. There is a need. There's a feeling that if you're not creative almost daily, you're lacking something. You haven't had the nourishment that you need because it's a necessary um, a necessary um, dimension. This is the dimension of rain. So where does that rain come from? Well, actually, it's real rain on the front windshield of my car. I'm looking at another car in a building. I usually go out when it's raining, but the best time to photograph is when it's raining, but it's a bright day. Even if the sun is out, it's better than a dull day. So these were taken on brighter days when what we used to call sun showers, when they were prevalent, like in this case, and in this case, and in this case. So all of those pictures are from looking from inside a vehicle, looking at the glass, usually the front of the car, um, and the rain creates the effect. It's window glass. Now we have rain on window glass with interesting liquid distortions, shapes, and colors. Rain that can be nurturing or destructive, a flood or gentle rain for crops, or no rain at all, a drought or a famine. New weather patterns that are creating difficulty and challenges for humanity now is something I just started recently thinking about. I photographed this before, all the problems with the tornadoes and the rainfall in New Orleans and Texas now. So maybe my mind was ahead of nature, but whatever. I like the process. I enjoy doing this. And again, this became a book. So I'll just show you them again. Any comments or questions?
There are some questions. Would you like to respond to some questions about the series that you've shown so far? Would you like to wait for the end?
Well, I think we're far enough ahead. I think we can take a few.
Okay. Well, first there was kind of a nice comment. Let's see. Ken pauses in life to see the little beauty that our lives are surrounded by. Reminds me of the lyrics to a song. All the rusted signs we ignore throughout our lives, choosing the shining ones instead. And Ken has done just that and have emerged the rust to be the beauty we see on the micro level. So I thought that was a nice comment. There's also a question about the bird dropping series and whether it relates to an earlier series of yours, a roadkill series, which you didn't show, but maybe you'd have a comment about.
I never showed that to you either, Margaret. I actually got rid of that when I moved my office, when I had to retire and my office was taken over and I cleaned it out. I threw out that series, I'm sorry to say. Yes, I took a road trip across the country and stopped for every roadkill I saw and photographed it and I had a presentation that I used to show to my photography 1 class, but that's gone now. I'm sorry that I didn't know it was so important. I would have kept it.
We also have a couple of
Probably
questions.
probably one of my previous students.
We also have a couple of questions about the post-processing on your photographs. One person just asked, do you use any post-processing in the Rust series? I think you did speak to that a little bit. But then there's another question also about the dumpster and the bird dropping photos. and she says, which are stunning, seem more real than the images in these car windows. Have these pictures also not been touched up in any way?
You know, there's an amount of limited control, and I have to apply that, but it's not, doesn't change the actual experience. You would have seen it similar to the way I'm showing it to you. But we do that even with black and white photography. There's always dust spots that we remove from the image because the dust is on the negative. We also burn and dodge in a black and white photograph, probably more than people realize happens. Photographers are not 100% purists. They don't. If they were, you wouldn't like the pictures as much. You back me up on that, Anita?
I agree. I agree that photographers cannot or should not be purists. Yes. I'm with you.
Okay.
How about one more question before we go on? A technical question, Ken. Do you feel there's any substantive visual difference between a print made digitally and one made in a conventional darkroom from a negative?
Oh yeah, world of difference, world of difference. When I had a darkroom, I had to devote an entire bedroom in my house, um, or use it, or the darkroom here at the college. So the space is a whole different reality. When I do my digital work, it's my hard drive and my computer, and and then I can have I can print my own work, which I've done in most cases, but I can also send the image out to be printed, and it will come back to me in less than a week with relatively good results, probably almost as good as I could do on my in my own studio, but a lot faster and a lot less work, and I can do more photographs that way, or printing it in a book. Um, if I had an exhibition of one of these series, I'd need 15 images in frames under glass delivered to the gallery. Um, but the book, um, I need a lot more pictures. It's interesting because the gallery images that are hanging would take a lot longer than the digital imaging to finesse and to be ready to be printed. It's a whole different animal. And going back to darkroom is just an impossibility for me because I was there for 30 years in one darkroom or another. I loved it, but I would not go back to that. Plus, color is a whole nother animal. So I hope I answered that.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
All right, so we go on?
Yeah, please show some more.
Okay. This one. This is a series, and it's called Interiors. And how I describe it is that it's a mirror image. So half of it, the one half on the left is the same as the one half on the right. They're brought together to make a bilateral symmetrical image. They're exactly the same on the two sides. If I divide it down the middle, right here, they're both the same, this and this side. And the whole subject is interiors or rooms. I know the first one was at a supermarket. This one I don't remember where it was. It might be the room that we're in now. I think it is. It's in our conference room. Yes, now I, I remember. And that's the gym that I used to go to, but they closed because of the epidemic. And this is the ceiling of a church that I attended when my daughter was in the choir. And this last one is in Best Buy. It's the ceiling of Best Buy in Nassau Park. Is that shopping center? So in all these cases, if you divide, if you put a line down the very center, the two sides are equal. They're exactly the same, like a reflection. But I'm taking the part of the room out of context. What you're looking at here is actually the ceiling. What you're looking at here is the ceiling becoming the floor. What you're looking at here is doubling the ceiling. And what you're looking at here is the walls were the ceiling. Yeah, I think that's right. And the floor was the wall. So if that doesn't confuse you, then I haven't done my job. But I discovered this method of bringing the parts of a room together in this way, and it fascinated me. So I did that for quite a while. Any?
Well, I have a comment. It's interesting that, we have again this kind of idea of doubling and mirroring and, playing with this half and that half again throughout the work. But I think there's also this, what happens when you work with interiors, it seem so different than when you're working with organic forms. And I'm wondering if how you relate to that. Do they have a different kind of meaning to you?
Yeah, I wrote it down. I forgot. I said floors become walls, walls become ceilings, unique interior spaces with unknown functions. That's what fascinates me. They're unknown functions. We normally go into a room and we know what its purpose is. And so it's a surprise to see it this way. It makes us wonder what's going on here. And it brings to mind a great awareness of the interior spaces that we live with day to day. Our homes, our businesses, schools, hospitals, churches, synagogues, mosques, each interior warrants our attention because it was made in a particular way to serve a particular purpose. With these images, there's no purpose in mind.
Although it feels like a mirrored room or like a hall of mirrors in some of your images.
Yeah.
And it's hard to tell where you are in space necessarily. Like you know that the wall is the ceiling or the floor is the wall, but I think for viewers they may not have a sense of that at all. So it just becomes this endless repetition. And while you were talking, I was writing down that I think the other thing I really respond to in your work is how you are looking for ruptures with reality, whether that's biomorphic or organic, so that you're paying attention to detail, or if it's something like this, where you're taking a very set kind of architectural form and you're being very irreverent with it, but in the best possible way.
Well, I think reality is boring. So I try to stay away from it as much as possible. Yeah, the rest of my life is pretty mundane. It's not really exciting, although I function in it and I have responsibilities, so that keeps me moving. But I prefer fiction and uh, distortion and another way of looking at the world. It pleases me that I can investigate the world in a different way than I normally do, than I do without the camera and without the computer.
So reality is overrated. Is
It's
that?
absolutely boring. Yeah. So let's move on. Okay. Let's move this ahead. Oops. It only works with the left hand. Isn't that interesting? Okay, I just called it Faces. Where's this? Okay, let me show you the series. This is in the exhibition in the gallery. Let me read what I wrote here. Before the leaf blowers and tree trimmers arrive, I put on my boots, tuck in my pant legs, and search for hidden treasure. But what I ultimately realized, and this was as I was taking these pictures, is that I am searching for my own inner demons, believe it or not. Fears that haunt me and refuse to disappear. Now, I've been fascinated by artists, especially painters, who paint self-portraits of themselves in these very, very dark, dramatic ways. Um, I felt they were getting in touch with those demons inside of them. So I was glad to see I could actually do it with a camera. These are the same, bringing together the right and the left of the subject, uh, mirror image of it. But there's no manipulation of the actual material. Some of these are trees, and some of these are leaves. So you would think I'm arranging the leaves and then taking the picture and then putting it together. No, I don't do that. I walk around looking for leaves that are fallen and I photograph them, hoping that I'll get a result that looks like a face. So I've taken hundreds, if not thousands, of these um, in the fall and the winter, and put together hundreds of them to get enough to do a show or a book. But I'd never change anything here in terms of the location, and I never move anything with my hands or fingers or any other device, which pleases me because it's like a treasure hunt. And I never really know what the image will look like until it's at this point. The only thing that I can do to manipulate is sharpen, but it's got to be pretty sharp to begin with, and then give a vignetting, give the black area around it an opportunity to isolate the face from the rest of the leaves that were behind it or to the side, and in this case, the rest of the tree. So the vignetting isolates and gives you the impression that there's nothing else there but the face, and so I eliminated everything else. the background. So there's a lot more manipulation in terms of background focus and also color. I think I'd feel guilty if I didn't manipulate the color in some way. I have so many choices in Photoshop. And I might make one image that has this kind of pinkish color, and I might try another one with a different color, and then compare the two and decide which one I prefer.
Ken, do you see these kind of simultaneously being comical and funny as well as horrific, or do you just think that they show one demoned side?
I have a problem not being humorous. There's something in me that doesn't really want to take things too seriously. So I was hoping these wouldn't that you wouldn't say that, but I can understand there can be some impression given here that there's a little bit of humor. If you can find it, it might be there, but I was hoping it didn't show up. But you found it.
Well,
I'm
one of
actually
the
humorous. I wouldn't go too far with that. I think there are others that are more humorous than these. I picked these out particularly because they're a little less so. But you did a good job there.
Well, I think one of the things that I found in looking at your work that's in the gallery that, we're not looking at tonight, so everyone should definitely see the work in this space, is how in terms of where you are playful. I mean, you tend to be a very playful person, I think, and love playing with words and love playing with language. But it's also a crucial part of your working practice. To me, you love play, and I think it resonates in all your work.
Well, there you go again. It's something I didn't see or didn't want to see, but you have seen it. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
It's a good thing.
A
It's a
good thing.
good thing to see it.
All right. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad. All right. So we can move on. Uh, this can also be interpreted as playful, but also there is some seriousness. I like a little bit of both. I think that is a good combination. This series definitely speaks to your point. These are, well, I'll go through them first. So what we're looking at are photographs I've taken at the Metropolitan Museum of Art over the past 3 years. And the backgrounds are places that I've been, like this was a shower in a hotel. I like that hotel. So I put the sculpture in the shower. I had the shower running when I took the picture, but the sculpture came later. And also have a duck, so I put the duck in there. That's the funniest part. This case, this sculpture is more serious. The head of, I don't remember whom, but I put that in with a background of a field. I had a photograph of stones. I added that. Actually added the sky, added the bird, and added the moon. So, oh, and also the bugs. So this is a little more sad. And this guy is really sad. This is from the museum. And this is from Google. I took the parts that I had and I added them. This was something I already had. The bar is something I had, and I had these two, but I didn't have the box. So I got that from Google. I also got the window from Google, but the background and this, the floor is mine. So I learned to, if you need a material for a photograph and you can't get it yourself, you can go to Google. There's no law that prevents you from doing it. And if it's not necessary, I said, go for it. The only rule is you can't get sued for it if it's part of a collage. But if it's the main element, then you might get in trouble. But here it's part of a collage. You're nodding your head. You say, no, no, that is,
Well,
what?
I think it's a very contentious issue.
Okay. Well, not in this case, because that's my sky. And I took this picture in the museum. So I got away with that one. All right. And this is all mine too. The sculpture, of course, I didn't make it. I took it at the museum, brought it here, put it in Carnegie Lake, which I photographed, put the sky in, and put my rocks in, and the lilies were growing there. They were already there. So I had an opportunity to use what I had because I collect everything. You need a sky, you need a moon, you need a tree, you need a cloud, you need a rock. Come to me. I love that idea. I mean, it's like going to the beach and picking up shells and stones and bringing them home. It's a collection, and my collection is enormous. Any questions or comments?
Oh, this is a good question, which is something I was going to say. But do you have tendencies towards hoarding or hoarder? Yeah, hoarding.
I love those shows. Do you ever watch them?
Yes, I find them very painful,
Yeah,
but
yeah, they make me feel good because I'm not as bad as that. I'll never be that bad. But um, I could be a hoarder, but photography allows me to do that. That's the beauty of it all. I have 4 8-terabyte hard drives. I can hoard a lot of stuff. In fact, they're already filled.
and is that do you ever feel guilty about contributing to the dearth of there's so many images, there's we're inundated, we're accosted daily by people's media feeds and by all different kinds of things, when it comes to images. How do you feel about that?
It doesn't really bother me. I have a very high tolerance for looking at other people's work and images that are be printed or online. Um, it's not a personal issue that way. And as far as contributing to the garbage of the world in my computer, throw the computer out and then it's gone. It's disappeared. So it's not the same. If I want to delete this, it'll take me 2 seconds.
So is that comforting to
Oh,
you, or
yeah, tremendous. Yeah.
it's comforting?
Oh, yeah.
The,
I don't have to bag it. I don't have to go to the
you don't have
dump.
to set it on fire or nothing.
Exactly. It's
So
wonderful.
so it's then it has a lifespan in a way that you, it sounds like you feel differently about other kinds of photographs, like analog photographs.
Yeah, pretty much. But I'll tell you one thing that's kind of funny. I told my daughter I'm making another book, and she said, "No, please don't." But she collects my books. I said, "Why, Tammy?" She said, "Because I don't have any more room for them." Meaning, you've filled up my space with your books, and I filled up my space. That's where my littering takes place. It's on my bookshelf. Got it full at this point, and I don't know where to go after that. Good question. Let's go on. But the beautiful part of digital is that I collect all of this stuff, and then I can either use it or ignore it. In this case, all of these parts are from my collection, except the moon. I got the moon from a poster. Well, it's still my photograph. The moon I photographed from on a poster. All the other elements are from either my car or or where I live, my condo. So this is the roof of a condo. These are hubcaps from my car, my old car. There's another hubcap. This is the front of the car. Grill, smaller grill, a little bit more grill, less different color, grill here. Whoops, I lost it. So it's all that, and the sky, of course, was there when I photographed the condo. And these are hood ornaments from a Chrysler, I believe. Yeah. None of this is from Google. Thank you very much. I have a term for this. Okay, where is it? Yeah, the term for the series is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence. I collect parts and backgrounds for the past 8 years, many thousands of parts. Yes, they're humorous and toy-like. Well, let me show you a few more. All these parts are well, no, this is from Google. The fire is from Google. This, whatever it is from Google. The eye is from Google. Uh, most of the rest is my own work. I have titles for these. The first one you saw was Cat Car. This one is Fire Woman. It's about global warming. This is called Seeking Humanity. This is called The Comedian. The last one is called The Dentist's Office. So this part is from the legs are from a building that was being refurbished in Ocean Grove, New Jersey. This is from a toy. That's from another toy. This is from an office. I don't know. Maybe it was dentist's office. This is from a foot doctor's office. The chair is from the foot doctor. And the rug and the walls are mine. And
What about the teeth? Are those Google teeth?
these?
No, the ones on the cart.
Oh, no, I don't have that.
Oh,
Well, I got
okay.
that from Google. Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah, I have to be honest about it. So what's this all about? Yes, they're humorous and they're toy-like, but also the work of a mad scientist who created robots that will do his bidding, and to revive a child's sense of power that toys once gave us. Meaning, when I'm doing this, I feel like I'm a child again, creating toys that I'm playing with, basically. And I can make them do what I want. So it gives a sense of power. See, my belief is that photography, art in general, is the goal of it is for the artist or the photographer to gain a sense of power over their subject matter. So this is my way to do that by creating toy images.
Do you think that do you think that's the only role that the artist or the photographer has in relationship to power?
I think it's the primary role. I think other roles are the subconscious. That's part of the subconscious, actually. I think the other roles are personal choice, influence, opportunity, medium.
What about artworks that want to reveal how power functions, or want to reveal personal experience about power structures?
That's also about gaining power over the subject. I don't care how it's titled, it's the same idea. When we photograph anything, we have gained the power over the subject. It's like when you pick up a rock that's beautiful, it becomes yours.
But 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 but
Yeah.
but what if it's appreciating versus dominating, right? Power suggests that you have ownership. Whereas I think another way you could think about it is that you have temporary custody of this object or this thing's inherent thingness.
Yeah, but you not only have control over it, but it has longevity in your collection. You can show it, you can keep it, you can expose it, you can print it, you can put it in a book. It has life. It has a life. It has a long life. When I photograph, my friend photographs flowers. Those flowers are going to die. They're beautiful. Everyone appreciates them, the look. But he's also gained power over the flower, and he's showing that to us, that he's able to do that. And he's able to identify beauty when he looks for it and finds it.
See, I would say that I feel really uncomfortable with that definition personally, but it's just a different way of looking at what the camera is for. And I don't think I try to control or have power over things I'm photographing. So I think there are lots of different approaches.
Well, maybe this is the male ego speaking. Maybe women don't think the way men do, because men are always thinking about their image in the world and what power or what ability they have over other men, possibly even over women. But I think it's definitely a male um, phenomenon, and maybe not for you.
Interesting. That's really interesting.
Mhm. That's why we need more women in powerful, in executive positions, or we wouldn't have that many wars. All right, next series. What are we calling this one? This is called New Planets, or the Planet Series. There is a photograph in this image somewhere. Can you see it? Yeah, I didn't fool you. There it is. The rest of it is digital drawing on the computer using Photoshop. And I'll show you some more. I can make this move. See, it doesn't move for me. What do I do?
Bring the mouse down there.
Huh?
Right there.
What do I do?
No, Yeah, now
Click it.
now do it.
Oh, it's got to be down here. All right. Oh, you're right. Okay. Olivia Burton is our technical director, and she just helped me to make this happen. In this case, there are no photographs. It's all digital. It's all drawing, and I've used every filter that Photoshop has to offer. There is a photograph here. I forgot. This is a photograph of a window in my doctor's office that has that graded look to it, and the lights behind it appear this way. Just drawing and just drawing. Now, if you ask me to do it again, I couldn't, because I don't remember how this was accomplished. Okay. Well, well, let me read what I've written about it. When I began this series, there were only 400 planets that were discovered in the universe, besides our own planet and our solar system. That was 6 years ago. This year, there have been 400,000 planets discovered in the universe just so far in our galaxy. Yet we cannot see the details and can only speculate on their atmospheres and potential for life. So I began a Photoshop let me say it again. So I became a Photoshop astronaut, traveling where no one had gone before, an intrepid explorer rocketing out from the safety of my comfortable studio to build my new universe. And if that isn't power, I don't know what is. But you wouldn't have known that was my goal here unless I had told you. But we'll go through these one more time. It's not obvious that it's about power. It's obvious that it's about drawing and color and composition. But to me, it has both. And they're my imaginations at work. Comment? I think we're running over.
Yeah, I think maybe just sharing some more would be really great.
Okay. Sorry. All right, this is drawing. These are drawings. Let's move on here. They're actually prints. They were drawings. I turned them into prints. They're hand drawn. On a drawing pad.
How big are they, Ken?
4x6, I believe, or 4x7. They're very small. The drawing pad was always with me, so I can draw when things were not too busy, like when we had department meetings here.
I was going to say something like, oh, I recognize those from department meetings. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so these are different pictures from Genesis. This series started when I began to study the history of Jewish civilization, which I began 20 years ago with my life partner, Mary Ellen. Artists have tried to use the Bible or use the Bible for inspiration, their stories and their characters for centuries. My images if I were to analyze them, are abstract. This is Making Man. Flat, not three-dimensional. This is Adam feeding the baby. Graphic. This is Eve going to work in the field with one of the children. And floating in oodles of repeating patterns. This is Noah building the ark, and this is Noah feeding the animals on the ark. So this is all from Genesis and my own interpretation. And am I in charge of Genesis now that I've done this? No, but God knows that I put in the effort to do this, and he's pleased. So that was my goal. He's the author. I'm the, it's my job. Is it literal? Is that a literal statement? No. But is it my fantasy? Yes. Questions? I have done all of Genesis and some others as well. A lot of these are in the gallery downstairs.
And they're quite exquisite. I mean, it's great to see them on screen, but I think seeing them in person is very much worth going.
I hope so.
They're very intricate and detailed. And you know, the question I have for you, Ken, is why do this in this form? Why make a series of drawings as opposed to a series of photographs?
I don't know how to photograph this subject. I thought about it. Some photographers have done the Bereshit, which is the beginning of the Bible, but they've done it in abstract ways. I guess I could have done that. You know, in the beginning there was a void, and God created the sky and the sun and so on. I could have done that abstractly, but it's been done. I thought nobody could do it better than the photographer that I can't remember the name of. Plus, at this point, I wasn't doing photography, to tell you the truth. This goes back quite a ways. This is 20 years ago. So, I mean, I was doing photography, but it wasn't the kind of photography that I'm showing you now, and it was darkroom. And I could carry the camera, and not, in this case, the pad, the drawing pad, everywhere. So it needed to be done, and that's why I did it. I stopped doing it, and now I started looking into it again, and I might start over. I might add more to this. And the last series is what I call God's Eyes. This is so new. We're talking the last 3 weeks. No, there's no humor in any of this. I don't think so. But again, what are they? They're, oh, next page, thank you. They're close-ups of wood knots, vignetted and color controlled. Newest work for a book or an exhibition, I haven't decided yet. These create a lot of problems or questions for me. Here I'm faced with more questions than answers. Does God have eyes or even a face? Or are these metaphors? Is God always watching, judging us before he acts? Can you tell what he is thinking or she is thinking? I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if I can do what's on my agenda for this work. I need somebody's input. So help me out.
Are you making a call to the all the viewers to get some feedback?
Yeah, absolutely. And for you too, and Margaret and Olivia over here. I can get all the help. I need all the help I can get.
I just think it's interesting that you're kind of putting together this idea of being watched, which is kind of a surveillance idea with also with paralleling it with being watched by God, right? So to me, it's a very interesting duality of surveillance and then how you're seeing it as kind of comfort.
Oh, I do not see this as comfort.
Ah,
I don't see it that
you
way.
see it as judgment.
I think that I'm thinking of it as judgment. Well, right now we're heading right into the day of judgment, the one day in the entire Jewish calendar that celebrates God's judgment of us for the following year. So I guess I was working in the last 3 weeks toward this
Mm.
particular subject. Um, every year, God judges all of us according to Jewish culture, literature, and actually the Bible itself. And he decides whether we're worthy of living another year or dying during that year. Now, as a child, it frightened me. And of course, makes you realize that you've got to do the right thing or you're not going to live. And but I think in a lot of ways we are paranoid creatures, not just because of religion, but religion really brings it out. Religion really does a job on the human race with God as the ultimate decider and one that we have to please. But starts very early. It starts with our parents. It starts with our teachers. It continues with other people. I think we're constantly living in a milieu that is what's the word? Why am I losing it? Um, observing, observing us, making decisions about us, whether we know it or not. I do it all the time. I see a stranger. I don't know if you do this. I see a stranger and I immediately have an image in my mind of what this person is like, what his lifestyle might be, things about his age, maybe his ethnicity. I'm making up these stories, and at the same time, I think it's a form of evaluation. And in some cases, I think this person is an enemy, and in other cases, I think he could be a friend. And this is with strangers. I think it's built in to the human psyche. We want to be able to protect ourselves and survive, where survival is our number one goal in living. At least I believe that's true. Also in animals, and we're not that far away from animals. So our survival may require us to make judgments. And sometimes, when we fall in love, we drop the judgment part and we fall in love. But when that's not happening, then we're judging someone, or someone is judging us. And even when we're in love, sometimes we worry about the other person judging us and not verbalizing it. My brother's a psychologist, so that's how I know these things. I never talked to him, though. And that's my presentation.
That's fabulous. I don't know if, Margaret, if there are any other questions on the chat.
Yeah, I could, I could kind of, there are lots of questions, lots of comments, and I'll kind of condense a little bit. There are some that are similar. We did get questions about the cameras you use and also the printer you use.
Well,
and
you want to know?
Go ahead.
Okay,
Yep.
well, I'm using a Canon, this camera here, for the last 10 years. In fact, I have 2 backups because I like it so much and I know how to use it. It's very easy to use. It's a $600 or $700 camera now. It's not being made anymore, but you can get similar cameras.
Is it a mirrorless camera?
It's a mirrorless camera. And the best part of it is it fits into a pouch on my belt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you go out to buy a camera and you can't carry it with you, that's a problem, I think. You should be able to carry your camera easily. And that's why I kept this particular one and also bought 2 more copies of it. It fits. So when I go to look for, I do this a lot. I go to Best Buy, I look at the new cameras. I'm not concerned so much about the number of pixels, but I am concerned about the size and whether it fits in my pouch or not. And if they fit, I would be more interested, but they don't.
Well, they do make bigger pouches, right? Like you could.
Yeah, well, you're right. But I'm already lopsided. I don't want
And what about your printer? What kind of printer do you use?
Up till recently, it was I would go with an Epson now, but I was using a HP printer for for years, and then I stopped. I was printing up here in the department for a while, but I don't print anymore. I send my work out, which is a lot cheaper than buying a printer and all the ink, constant ink cartridges, constant. Amazing how expensive that can get. Oh, by the way, these are printed outside in a lab, not by me. And the ones that are in the gallery are those printed in the lab, and not by my printer.
There were also lots of questions and comments about your treasury or your hoard of images. And one question that I thought was really interesting was about your cache of images. Someone asked, do your images or do your materials, your cache of images, drive your concepts or vice versa?
It goes both ways. I had a student, Joanne, you'll remember Joanne, Anita.
Yeah, Joanne's in the chat. I
Yeah.
see her
Okay.
contributing.
Oh, okay. That's great. I remember looking at Joanne's front, what's it called? A front page? A desktop, right? The desktop part. And she had dozens of images there all at once. And I was kind of shocked. Hi, Joanne. And I said, Joanne, you've got so many images. How do you know what's there and what to do with them? And I don't remember exactly what she told me, but it was a shock for me. Now, when I look at my desktop, I've got 3 times as many images on it as Joanne had, and I understand why. And there's a reason, because you want to keep the images that please you or gives you an idea, keep them close to you, not have to go too far to find them. That's why um, those images that are on my desktop can be very useful if I can find what I'm looking for. But they're also in categories in the hard drives as
There
well.
we
I
go.
have a category for everything. You want something? Tell me what you want. Go ahead, tell me. Go ahead, tell me. I'm waiting. Tell me.
Well, the whole keywording phenomenon and metadata so that you can search digital images by, date and whatever keywords you add to the file,
Yeah,
thank goodness that exists. Otherwise, I don't know where we would be.
yeah. I have a file for stairs. I have a file for chairs. I have a file for windows. I have a file for doors. I have a file for clouds. I have a file for birds. I have a file for airplanes. I have a, a file for stones. Um, I have a file for grass. I mean, it's really quite elaborate. And it's alphabetical, obviously, so it makes it easy to find.
Obviously,
Yeah.
yes.
So I'm collecting now for grass um, and for knot holes in wood. Those two primarily right now.
What if people send you images? Would you consider using their images if it wasn't a Google image and it wasn't your image personally?
I don't think I think in one case I did that. You know, one of the things that was really interesting because it becomes a temptation is that people send you pictures on Facebook all the time, and uh, and I collect those because they're so interesting. I put them either, yeah, I put them either in a file with their name on it, or put them in on my desktop.
Right.
And I'm thinking they're there. Why not use them? And I have to resist doing that. I don't do that. I won't do that. There's a sense of authorship that I just don't go into. I will not do that. But you never know. I mean, someone can be using my images too. You know, we don't have total control anymore.
No, no. And we can't have power over everything.
No, we can't. That's why we work so hard to find.
So
How we
we
doing?
are creeping up on 8:30 and I want to be respectful of your time, Ken. You've been really generous with your images and with your thoughts and your comments about your work. And I thought maybe a good question to end on would be this one. Um, uh, Anita, at the very beginning, I know did you try to get Ken to pick a particular photograph as his favorite photograph? Um, this question is about picking a medium. We've seen your work in so many mediums, from black and white photography through color photography, through the digital drawings, things that were created completely on the computer, to drawings made on a drawing pad. And the question is, it seems as though you find inspiration in a variety of sources and express yourself in a variety of mediums. Which is the one that you call your preferred medium?
The best one is the one I'm going to do next. I go to
That's a
sleep.
great answer.
I go to sleep thinking about what am I going to do next? I don't know, but I have faith in it, in the process. As Anita said, faith in creativity.
Right. And that's a huge thing. That's all you really need.
Mhm.
Right. And then you continue to make work until you can't do it anymore. You just keep making work.
Some of the best work that Matisse made was when he was lying in bed that he couldn't walk. He did his best work then. I've seen work by photographers that some of their best work was in the last years of their life. I'm looking forward to it. I don't have much time left, so.
You don't know that, Ken.
Oh, maybe not. But we'll
Well, hopefully, you will be photographing forever, right? That's
into the void.
to the void.
Hey, there's nothing in here to photograph.
What do you do then? Yeah, that's going to be hard.
This is my biggest fear, is not having anything creative to do when I'm dead.
Well, I think though what you could do is you could send us emails of the void, and then it becomes everyone's frustration, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I can work on it. Use that as an assignment sometime.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Class,
That goes really deeply. Yeah. I don't know if we want to.
I gave an assignment to a class a few times. I said, photograph your soul. And very interesting results. You have to do that closer to the end of the semester.
Not the first day.
Oh no, because they need to learn the ins and outs of the camera and the computer. I can't do what, but at the end, near the end of the semester, wow, you wouldn't believe the results. I was very pleased.
That's fabulous.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful exhibition. Everybody has to go check it out.
Oh, where is
It's
it?
lovely.
Here it is.
Yeah.
No, I think you did a great job, Margaret. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And thank you both for this wonderful talk tonight. It really was a conversation. And I feel really fortunate to have got to listen in. Thanks to all of you for attending. And as I mentioned, this was recorded, so we will be posting it in the next week or so. Thanks so much. Thank you, Ken.
Well, thank you.
Congratulations, Ken.
Well, thank you.